All right, welcome back. So here we are. We are 5 weeks into our growing season in New Jersey. We started seeds in February, and it is actually the first week in March. It's daylight savings time. So what I want to do is I want to give you guys a little progress update, show you where we're at, how things are going. If you can see behind me, our growing system in this room is completely filled up. We got 32 trays sitting in here. In the other room, we actually have 1 tray already filled out, and that'll actually get filled up next week as things are really starting to progress here. So up to this point, we've done about 3,000 starts. Last week was our first kind of cleanup. So out of the 16 trays we went through, I think about 6 or 7 trays we had to get rid of. And what does that mean? Well, you know, when we're doing these trays, I like to give 28 days, 4 weeks for viability of those seeds to germinate. After that time, if we don't get any growth, we got to toss them, we got to move on. And the point of how we do it here is we do this succession sowing, right? What does that mean? So we start first week in February, and then every 2 weeks, we're going to do more seeds. Usually we'll start about 1,000 to 1,100 seeds each succession, and the whole goal there's a couple things. You know, we start so early, but we need a lot of plants in a short period of time. So what we do is we want to, number one, make sure our seeds are viable. And I will be honest with you, this February is probably one of our lowest germination rates we've had up to this point. Partly because the weather here has been cold. We've had more days below freezing in New Jersey than I can remember. It's been several years since it's been this cold. The room we're currently standing in, it's about 55 in here. Outside's about 45. And what it is it's a non-heated room. So granted, we have heat mats, granted we have the light coming in, but I tell you, at nighttime, sometimes you come down here, it's definitely in those 50s. And I think that does affect the germination rate a little bit. So why don't I pull out a couple trays? What we're going to do is we're going to show how the progress has been going. So everything on this rack here, we're talking about 7 days, or actually 8 days in. So we're 8 days in for this row here. So pull off the first tray here. Let's see what we're working with. All right. Look at this, pretty good. So we have marshmallow growing here. We love to grow a lot of marshmallow. We harvest it year 2 for the roots. And here we have toothache, also known as spilanthes. If you're not familiar with toothache, it's kind of a tropical plant, very waxy leaves and flowers. A lot of people will take those little flowers because if you chew on the leaves, it'll actually make your mouth go a little bit numb. It's always fun when we're up on the farm getting people to try that for the first time. I've heard what a lot of people have been doing with these flowers of the toothache plant is they'll put them in ice cube trays, and then they'll put them into cocktails, and let's just say it makes your cocktails a little interesting. So overall, you know, good start on the marshmallow and spilanthes. Over here, the wormwood, not really seeing any growth at all. You know, unfortunately, this is the 3rd time we've been planting wormwood seeds, and it just has not been working out for us. So the question now is, what's the issue? Is it us or is it the seeds? And at this point, I think it's the seeds. Usually what we will do is, you know, December, January, we'll try to get seeds from multiple vendors. And the reason being is if we have an issue like this, we could try the other seeds and hopefully those work. Or there maybe we save some seeds, so we always try to have a backup plan for us. But at this point, we feel the wormwood are not going to germinate for whatever reason. Maybe they were exposed to heat, maybe they just were exposed to sun, we're not sure. And then if you see here, a couple baby oreganos are popping up. So, you know, it's okay that they're again, this is only 7-8 days in. This is amazing. We're coming here on the oregano, things are looking good. So far, so good. One thing I will recommend, you know, is as you see with the racking system, highly recommend this. We have lights, we have heat mats. What you're going to have too from time to time is you're going to have different variables, right? Maybe some of these lights have brighter spots, right? For the heat mats, maybe some of them have hotter spots. And you'll notice it from time to time when you pull out a tray, and every single time you pull it out, that 1 pack or those 2 packs in the corner are always a little bit drier than everything else. So what we like to do is we like to kind of move things down, right? So as we kind of go through this, we'll take a look at the trays, and then we'll kind of move down from section to section. What this will help you do is it'll help kind of work out those variables so they kind of move and they're all getting the same amount of light, same amount of heat from time to time. So we pull out this tray here, and again, look, So far, we have one nasturtium growing. I don't know if you're familiar with nasturtiums. Love to grow those. Trailing orange and red flowers. They're edible flowers, edible leaves. We like to throw them in salads. We also like to take the flowers and mix them with vinegar, make a nice vinegar infusion of the nasturtiums. They're good because they got this peppery, spicy flavor to them. So really kind of interesting way you could use those. If you see here, we have about, I'd say maybe 18 little catnip babies starting to germinate. And again, 7 to 8 days. This is great. When we did catnip in February, it took a lot longer. It probably took about, I'd say 12 to 14 days before we started seeing germination. So this is a promising sign. This is telling me that it probably wasn't the seeds. It was probably just the atmosphere, the degrees, the weather that we were kind of dealing with. But overall, doing pretty good. Again, this is the third planting of this hyssop that you see here, which means the hyssop seeds probably are not good. We're going to look through to see what hyssop seeds we have left. Maybe we're going to try a different distributor that we purchased from. But overall, a good start here. And again, what I talked about with rotating, even if you're only doing the one rack, or maybe you just have 2 trays up, honestly, alternate them. It's only going to help you throughout this whole process. All right, so let's pull out this one here. Oh, wow, look at that. What do we got here? All right, so we have mullein here. Over here, we have horehound and self-heal. So this is amazing, right? You're looking at this, again, 7, 8 days in. I know what you're thinking. Number one, Matt, you're a lunatic for growing mullein. So I might have mentioned this before, but we like to cultivate plants, medicinal plants that we use. Yes, we could go out and forage. However, it's not always as easy to go out and forage when you need something, right? So we do cultivate some mullein throughout the year. We do it for the dried. We also will use it for tinctures and other aspects. Now you're like, you definitely oversowed these seeds. The answer is yes. And here's the reason why. Over the last, I say 2 or 3 years, what we would do at the end of the season, August, September, you'd have the mulleins. They would grow about 3-4 feet tall. What would you do? You cut off the top flowering part. Inside each one of those stalks, right, we're talking about 100 to 250,000 seeds. Yes, 250,000 seeds. So what we'll do, we'll let them kind of overwinter in a brown paper bag. Come, January, we'll get the seeds out of them, and then, yeah, they're free seeds to us. Look at the germination rate and the probability of success on that. So it's always interesting that when we do this, how many we get out. I will be honest with you, we've had better success with the seeds we've saved than the stuff that's been commercially bought. Again, that's just us. So if you are someone who wants to cultivate mullein, at the end of the year, save yourself a couple stalks, and here you go. Now, I will tell you, we will probably wait another 2 weeks, and we'll start maybe another week. We'll start to thin this out a little bit. What that'll do is just allow things to breathe a little bit and kind of grow. We possibly might also kind of start to separate them and kind of transplant them. I want to kind of see how this works out. The horehound looks great. January horehound, not very good. Germination probability is very low for us, but now it's looking good. And then some self-heals growing well. I mean, if you do this at home, you have a tray that's looking this good after 8 days, you are killing it. Keep up the good work. All right, let's see if we got else here. All right, let's pull up another one. All right, so again, we're only talking about 8 days in, and look at this. So, holy basil, also known as tulsi. We grow a lot of tulsi on the farm. We do. We grow quite a bit of it. We use it for tinctures, for teas, so much stuff. The hydrosol. It's just such an amazing plant. If you are not growing holy basil this year, then you're making a huge mistake. I think it is one of the best plants that you can grow. Number one, just makes an amazing beverage. Honestly, iced tea, hot tea, and however you want to take it. Plus it has adaptogenic properties, which we all know are just beneficial for everybody these days. So I know what you're thinking, Matt, holy basil, you have to treat as an annual here, and you are 100% correct. We treat as an annual in New Jersey because it doesn't grow here year round. I believe the climate is USD zone 8. So for us, yeah, we have to grow it as an annual. However, we want to do a couple things. I haven't purchased holy basil seeds in, honestly, oh man, over a decade. At the end of the year, we're harvesting our own seeds. We're saving them. Last year, we actually lost our seeds. I don't know what happened to them. But what we want to do is I want to make sure these are viable. So these seeds are from 2023. So my question was, Matt, are these going to work? So we did a really strong direct sow in here just to see what would come up. And honestly, out of 72 starts, we probably have, I don't know, 150 plants here. So looking really good. We know, number one, the seeds are viable. And we also know that if we go heavy on sowing, that we're going to be able to meet our expectations. As this is one plant, we'll probably grow, I'd say 300 to 400 throughout the next 2 months with us. All right. Let's just pull out one more to see how things are going. Take this guy right here. All right, let's see. Looking good. So what do we have here? Motherwort. We have lemongrass, and then we have a little yarrow. So let's talk about these three. Going back to February, our motherwort, they were actually seeds that we saved. They were from 2 years ago, and no germination at all. And I got nervous, honestly, because motherwort, I know it's a plant this year. We need to grow about 80 to 100. So my concern was, all right, what are we going to do? So I ended up buying some seeds from a commercial seed distributor, and perfect, right? So what does that mean for me? It mostly likely means that the seeds that I had were exposed to maybe some heat, were exposed to something that just kind of damaged the viability of those seeds. Now looking at this, I know we're going to be okay. Out of the 36 starts, we have a minimum of 36. So then the next planting cycle, if we do another 36 or another 54, I know we're going to be caught up in no time. I know what you're thinking about the lemongrass. Matt, what are you growing lemongrass for? It's too early. Well, here's the thing, right? Lemongrass is a perennial in our area. I'm sorry, an annual in our area because it's zone 8. It's a tropical plant. However, we want to make sure that these lemongrasses will get to about 3-4 inches tall before we put them in the ground. We want to make sure they're going to be viable. Lemongrass is one of those plants that, honestly, it is the easiest thing to grow. We've got some seeds going, and what will happen is we'll let this go for a good 4 to 6 weeks. We'll move them into a 3.5-inch cup, and then after that, literally, we get them up on the farm. We know that by the end of the season, because we're treating it as an annual, we'll do a strong harvest in September, maybe October, depending on how the weather is. And it'll be more than enough for us throughout the year. For you, I would honestly recommend grow at least one lemongrass each year. You get so much out of it, very medicinal, and plus you could use it for culinary reasons, and there's a lot. We'll talk about that throughout the year as we kind of dive more into it. And then over here, our yarrow, super happy with this. So I think the issue we had in February with our yarrow was the seeds. We had about 5 different packets, and the ones we started using were from 2 years ago. Clearly, those are going to get tossed out because sometimes, again, what happens? Seeds get exposed to heat, they get exposed to different things, and then at that point, you need to kind of rework it. So what we're realizing is that our system's doing really well this year. We noticed a great increase so far. Again, 8 days in, things are looking really good. Now, you might be thinking, Matt, mine don't look like this 8 days in. That's okay. We all have different variables of what causes that. Number one, what we would recommend is if you're having issues and maybe it's 4 weeks where you're not getting any seeds, at that point, let's say it's the seeds, you know? What we like to do, I've mentioned before, is succession, right? Every 2 weeks, we're planting. If you hit 3 times where those seeds do not germinate, it's the seeds, okay? Now, if you get seeds from another vendor, and then you try the same thing and those still do not germinate, then it's on you, okay? What are you possibly doing wrong? Am I supposed to do scarification on these seeds? Am I supposed to do cold stratification? Am I supposed to, is there something else? Maybe I'm supposed to soak them overnight before I plant them. Some of those things could lead to your probability of success with some of these plants, but for the most part, getting them in the soil, light, and water. The last tip I will give you is the depth at which you go to these. When you're planting seeds, for the majority of seeds that we will be doing throughout this year, we're talking about getting these seeds pressed lightly on top of the soil. Reason being, these seeds need sun. Now, granted, we're not talking about sun here, we're talking about lights, but they need that light in order to germinate. If we're not giving them that direct light, there's a good chance they will not germinate. However, make some exceptions. We're talking about rhubarb, comfrey, some of these larger seeds, nasturtiums, for example. These larger seeds, they need to kind of expand a little bit, so we want to get those under the ground. But for the most part, we want to make sure that our seeds are pressed against the top. That will definitely help success and probability for these seeds. All right, So far so good. We showed stuff just 8 days in, okay? Now, what I want to do is I want to show you a few things that are 21 days, 3 weeks. So let's take a look at some things that are 21 days in. Alrighty, how are we looking? This looks amazing, right? So what we have here is we have Comfrey looking amazing. I mean, out of 36 starts, we're probably looking at about 45 plants there. Lemon Balm looking great. It's funny, if you were to look at the Lemon Balm from a week ago, little babies, within an extra 2 weeks, we popped up a little bit. Again, these are sowed pretty heavy here. So what we can do is go in, and then maybe another 2 weeks, we're probably going to go in either thin out or we're going to split up and when we go to transplanting. It's always funny when you see something done so well, right? You got the Lemon Balm here, the Comfrey here, and then you have only a couple here. So what happened? Maybe we didn't see those. Maybe they got stuck to our hands and they kind of went in the wrong spot. Regardless, if you're producing trays like this at home, you're killing it. Pat yourself on the back, you're doing a great job. All right, let's see what else we got. Okay, what are we looking at here? All right, so these are thyme plants, 3 weeks old. I wish you could smell this. These thymes smell amazing, honestly. It's today's what, March 9th, and we're a couple weeks out from spring, but when you start to smell these plants, like you really just, for me, I can't wait. I'm so excited for spring to finally get here. We've had such a cold winter. Moving on, we got a couple pennyroyals growing, and again, these are little babies. One thing we've noticed is that some of the stuff that was planted in February, not only was it a colder time, but some of the seeds got pushed down a little bit farther, so it stunted the growth of some of these. So if I were to show you some pennyroyals popping up now, after 8 days, literally are looking about the same size, and again, that's okay. These will be fine, they just need a little bit longer to kind of start growing. These three right here are hyssop, and it's funny, I would hope that this one right here would be a hyssop, but it's not. It's actually a thyme, as sometimes our hands are a little dirty and we put seeds in the wrong place. But we've grown hyssop 3 times, every time 0 germination. So what does that mean? Check the seeds. If we have another brand that we can try, we're going to try that. Otherwise, we're going to purchase some more seeds for the hyssop. But overall, looking great. I mean, you should be happy with a tray like this after 3 weeks. All right, let's pull out one more. All right, so here we go. We got one more tray. Again, 3 weeks in. So this is all anise hyssop. It's funny. For whatever reason, last year, or maybe 2 years ago, we must have saved literally about a pound worth of anise hyssop seeds. So I was thinking, great, we don't ever need seeds again. First time in February, 0. Planted more, 0. After that first week, I said, forget it. I need to get these germinated because we need quite a bit of anise hyssop this year. So I took them out and I heavy sowed, and we have quite a bit of growth here. So what we're looking for is to the point where now we can come in and thin it out. You know, if I'm starting 36, I want to hopefully get in the 25 to 30 range. If I get above that, super excited. If I get even more so, that means that, okay, great. We could thin out, or we could kind of split and transplant when we get to there. What else we got growing here? So these are some pennyroyals as well, and then we have some more pennyroyal. So again, 3 weeks in, you can see the difference in sizes between some of this stuff, but again, you got to be happy with it. Some of these plants will take a little bit of time to grow. So overall, whether we're 7 weeks in, 21 days in, now what I'm going to show you is 5 weeks in. Again, we're only 5 weeks into this process. So the first one I'm going to pull out is, look at this. We have for you astragalus. Look at these astragalus. So, I mean, it is just gorgeous. We're talking about already getting 1, 2, 3. We're already on the 4th node for some of these astragalus. Looking great in 5 weeks. Look at this thyme plant. Oh, my goodness, looks amazing. 5 nodes up. And what do we have here? Oh, we got some roots coming out of the bottom. God, it smells so good. I want to make myself a cup of thyme tea. Just looks amazing, smells amazing. So as you can see, you know, and again, all plants are going to be growing at different times. So between the thymes, the astragalus, over here we have arnica. It's funny, last year arnica in general, we did very bad on. I think we ended up out of probably 72 or more starts. We probably got about 18. This year, been doing very well with it. I mean, right here out of 18 starts, we definitely have 18 plants. So we're happy on that. Up on the farm, a lot of the arnica kind of died on us. So we want to start another area where we can grow more arnica. But again, these look great. They're happy. For these guys, I would say another 2 weeks, they'll probably get transplanted. We'll move into the 3.5 inch cups and then eventually out into the greenhouse. These guys, we're going to see how we go over the next 2 weeks and probably start doing some transplants there. But for the most part, looking amazing. So let's pull out one more. Again, 5 weeks old. All right, what are we working with here? I mean, you got to be excited with this. These are clary sages. Look at these clary sage. If you're not familiar with clary sage, it is an amazing plant. Look at the roots on these clary sages. Only 5 weeks. What? That's crazy. 5 weeks. So, clary sage is an amazing plant. It smells amazing. A lot of it is used in the perfume cosmetic industry. I love growing it for 2 reasons. Number one, we make a hydrosol with it, which is amazing. We also dry out the leaves. A lot of people use it for different preparations, and it's not readily available, clary sage. But honestly, if you're able to grow clary sage, the smell alone for most of us, just love it. There are some doubters out there that hate it, but for me, it's great. It grows these beautiful flowers, and it's a biennial. So what does that mean? First year, you're going to get a lot of leaves. Usually in late summer, you're going to start to see some flowers. That second year, though, I swear, some of these will literally flower from June all the way through to September. And it's amazing, too. We're always constantly cutting back and saving seeds. So it's just a fun plant. Plus, it just smells amazing. All this are seeds that we actually save. So we honestly haven't bought clary sage in quite a while. What you'll see here, yep, they look like onions, don't they? Those are garlic chives. We love growing garlic chives for a couple reasons. Number one, it is that perennial that you really don't need much maintenance for. Whether it's partially shaded, you have 1 or 2 of these out there. They grow beautiful flowers in the early spring. You could use it culinarily. You could also harvest the flowers, put them in some white wine vinegar. It'll turn this beautiful color and use that as salad dressings or finishing off vegetables. It's just great. Marjoram. If you're not familiar with marjoram, let's talk about that for a second. Marjoram is really more used in Europe. A lot of recipes in France will call for marjoram. It is kind of a cousin of oregano. It's more floral. It has more, I don't want to say sweetness, but it's a little sweetness to it. And we like to grow it for a couple reasons. Number one, we like to experiment when we're in the kitchen. So it's one of those things we like to grow. And we have to treat as an annual here because it's only zone 8. But throughout the course of a year, 2 or 3 plants will be more than enough for most families to have it throughout the year. You dry it out, put it into a little shaker, and you have a new culinary thing you can kind of play with throughout the year. And then the last thing we have growing here is some cleavers. I know what you're thinking, Matt, cleavers, they grow everywhere, they grow wild, and they do. What you'll notice sometimes is we like to cultivate some plants for a couple reasons. It would be great to just say, I'm gonna go forage this, but it's not always easy as it sounds. You know, maybe if we're talking about mugwort or goldenrod, yeah, absolutely. There's a dozen places I can go to forage those things. But if we're talking about cleavers or chickweed or some of these other things that are just, you know, kind of sporadically growing, it's a lot harder to really find them in the wild and forage them. So some things we will cultivate. And I'll be honest, it's funny. Sometimes it's harder to cultivate these plants than it is actually to go forage them, but we like to have a mix of both. So if we're able to cultivate some of them for ourselves, great. Otherwise, we'll kind of go out and try to forage what we can. But overall, I think, you know, we are really excited to see how things have been growing for the past 5 weeks. This week, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be kind of taking a tally of what has not worked. This next cycle is actually going to be March 15th. So what does that mean? We're going to be getting a lot more into annuals. We're going to get a lot more into growing some more flowers and things like that. So it's crazy to think that we're only 9 weeks out from our last frost date here in New Jersey. We've started over 3,000 plants. I would say we probably have a good 2,000 already kind of popping up, and things are looking good. Well, thanks for hanging out with us. Please remember to subscribe and like us, and check back soon. We're going to have more videos. See you soon.